to follow my notes.
All right, you are live once again. Floor is yours.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's the June 2nd Zoning Board of Appeals meeting starting at 7:04. First of all, I'd like to ask everybody to silence their cell phones. Please note that emergency exits will be out to the right. There's ones that go out the glass door straight ahead and also around to the front where you probably came in. With that, I would like to make sure everybody signed in. That's where it is on my notes. I knew I wrote it down. And I'd like to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that. Next, we'll do roll call. Robert Peckham here. Beth Mossworth.
Here.
John Migliorini. Here. Christian Chamberlain. Here. Heather Robinson.
Here.
Jesse Redlow.
Here.
And Timothy Harrington.
Present.
All are present. Thank you. I'd like to ask for a motion for the minutes from May.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the May 5th, 2021 Zoning Board of Appeals minutes as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Migliorini. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meetings are approved. Next, we would like to start out with the variances. When I call your name, if you're in the building, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. If you're on the Zoom meeting, please do the same thing, but right where you're sitting. All right, we'll start out with application number 2021-018, Mark McMaster at 176 Butler Drive. Heather, is Mr. McMaster on the phone?
He's online. Mark, you're muted still. He's working on it. Hold on.
Give him a moment.
Yep, I can see his mouth moving.
Heather, you've got a dialogue screen. Can you click on that? Can you make that go away for us? This meeting is being recorded.
I got it. I apologize.
That's okay.
Can you hear me now?
There you are.
We hear you
Okay.
now.
Yep. So Mark McMaster, 176 Butler Drive.
Welcome, Mr. McMaster.
Thank you.
I want to say I'm glad you're here with us. I saw last time that there was some issues, and we're glad that you're here with us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. It's 2 weeks out from open heart surgery, so we're glad to be here.
Well, we're very happy for that.
Thank you.
Beth, this one's for you.
So, Mr. McMaster, you found that you were in a setback situation where you were only 1 foot off of your setback, whereas 4 foot is required. Do you know how that came about?
I don't. I purchased the property 18 years ago, and it's actually a pool house shed. So it was part of the pool that was installed back in 1986. So I bought the property in 2003. So I'm not really sure.
Are you in the process of selling for it to be found that you were not in the setback, or did you get a notice?
I got a notice. I don't want to speculate, but it was addressed to my ex-girlfriend who lived here for a couple of years. I do not know if that's why, but it did seem interesting. I do know, though, that a couple of years ago, I applied for a permit for a fence around the yard. And we didn't end up going through with the fence. So maybe somebody came out to take a look if the work had been done, and that's how it came up. I'm not really sure.
Okay. And we had received an email from a neighbor, Sherelle Olivis.
Yeah, so she's my neighbor directly on that side. And I had asked her if she had any problem with it, and she had none. I was on earlier, and as you had mentioned, she has a fence on her property, which is 3 foot 1 inch, or 3 feet 1 inch. So it doesn't appear to be as close to the property line as it is, it's actually 1 foot 2 inches. So I didn't discover that until I looked into it after the request to appeal.
Just for the record, I'll just read the email. She says, "Hi, Mark. This email is regards to your note to the town of Henrietta to let you know your shed should be 4 feet from my property line. I do not have any concerns or issues with the current placement. I do not see any need to have it moved. If the town needs anything, let me know." So, and just to close up some questions, I'm sure you probably may have panicked or realized, oh gosh, what do I do? In order, yeah, is it already set in concrete or just set on the pad?
No, it is on concrete. It's on a concrete pad. In fact, it's right behind me. If you wanted to look at it via FaceTime, I can give you a little bit better of an idea of it, if that interests you.
That you said that it's also for the pool. Does it house the equipment for the pool?
Yeah, so it houses the pool heater, the filter, the pump.
And that was part of why it would not be feasible to an alternative based on where all of that equipment that's already running underground to the pool and then back to the equipment, correct?
Correct. And it's also, there's a concrete pad that goes around the pool, and then there's a little walkway to it. And there's also custom fencing that's put around it that butts up to the shed. So there'd be quite a lot of concrete extraction. And I have to redo the fence and do all the underground mechanics.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And if you'd like to see it, I can give you a quick look right here.
It's a first for us.
So you could see that the fence butts right up against it, and I think it enhances the property. I think it's tasteful and would be. I don't know exactly how much it would be, but I would suspect it would probably be in the $15,000 to $20,000 range to try and move it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions from board members?
Mm-mm.
Are there any other questions or comments from members of the audience, here or virtually? Heather?
I am not seeing anything online.
All right, with that, we'll close this application. Are you good or do you need a minute?
Yeah, okay.
Go.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to application ZBA 2021-018 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now, be it further resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, since the shed has been part of the landscape of the yard since 1986. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. No affordable options, as the current concrete around the pool area includes pool shed that sits upon it and the equipment for the pool to operate. The variance is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty related to the variance was not self-created, as the shed and concrete pad around the pool was already on the property prior to purchase. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented. I'll second.
Give it to
Heather seconded it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. And again,
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
we're very glad you're here with us.
Thanks a lot. Have a great night.
All right, now we're going to go to 2021-025 and 026. This is Jared Gould, 129.
Hello.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yep. My name is Jared Gould, 129 York Bay Trail.
Great. Beth, this is you again.
I apologize for any background noise. My phone would only work outside.
Well, that's okay.
So,
Thank
Mr. Gould, you indicate on your application, the driveway widening would be approximately 9 feet wide and about 9. Is that correct?
Yep, just a little offshoot up behind the tree, up closer to the garage, not past the garage, but up to the garage.
So basically like a little flag off the driveway that you currently have.
Right.
And that would allow for parking of a vehicle?
Yep, just one car.
And do you find that that would be sufficient enough to, as you had indicated, to keep cars out of the roadway?
Yeah, as long as my kids park properly in the driveway, not in the center of the driveway.
Okay. And the other part of the variance is just because it would be then back to the side yard. But
Yeah, be close to the property line.
do you have any plans to put any plantings in there or just keep it open for egress?
I want to see how they grade it, but I do want to at least put grass up to the driveway so it's not like a step off from the pavement down. But yeah, I'm always open to plantings around the yard.
And you said there's only going to be one car on that new piece of driveway?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Are there any other questions from board members?
I just want to say, Mr. Gould, I thoroughly enjoyed reading the humor in your application. And I wish you luck with your blood pressure with that many children of driving.
Right. Like I said, as long as they can park properly, it shouldn't be a problem.
I also have 2 kids, and good luck.
All right.
Any questions from members of the audience or person or virtually? Heather?
I do not have any online.
That?
Mr. Chairman, in regards to applications 2021-025 and 026, for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, as having the addition to the driveway will ensure cars are kept off roadway. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The variance is not substantial, as ample green space between the driveway and the neighbor's property will still exist. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty related to the variance was self-created, and be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Jesse seconded this. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Gould. Have a nice day. All right. We are going to hear application 2021-040, which is Samuel D. Nevin at 73 Pueblo Circle. Welcome, Mr. Nevin.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please state your name and address for the record.
Samuel D. Nevin at 73 Pueblo Circle.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Nevin, you are requesting a 160-foot storage shed where 118 square foot is allowed. Can you explain the purpose of the shed?
Basically, so we can keep everything organized and put away and keep our yard neat. We have a lot of stuff to keep track of. And we just want to have a place to put it.
Okay. Can you describe the shed that you guys plan on putting up?
It's an Amish built shed, so it'll come prefabbed and they'll come and drop it off and level it. They do very good work.
Okay. Do you plan on having any electricity to the shed?
No,
Is it a single story or double story?
single story.
Okay. And it's just strictly for your needs of storage,
Yeah,
correct?
Yep.
Okay. I have no further questions.
What is the reason that you decided to put it right next to the house like that, close, relatively close to the property line?
for convenience to get things in and out of, close location. We'll be able to, come right from the garage and get to the front of the shed.
if I recall properly, your neighbor to the, what's the direction here? To your south, I guess, left looking at your house from the street. Do they also have a shed that's roughly lining up with yours, or is theirs farther back?
Theirs is farther in the back.
Okay,
Yep, next to their pool.
next to their pool. Okay, thank you. Any questions from other members of the board? I will read, there was one email that was sent in to us from Lynn Roos, I believe. She wanted to let us know that both myself, Lynette Roos, dwelling at 77 Pueblo Circle, as well as John and Gloria Miller at 79 Pueblo Circle, are supportive in allowing a larger than normal shed to be put on the property of 73 Pueblo Circle. We discussed this last evening and knew that it was to be discussed in tonight's town meeting. Please feel free to contact me directly with any questions. So you do have support from neighbors
That's great.
on your circle as well. And that's in there. I read that for the record's sake.
Okay.
So with that, are there any questions or comments from members of the audience? Looks like no. And Heather, are there any others that you're seeing from the virtual audience?
Nope, nothing online, Bob.
Thank you very much. With that, we can close this application.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA-2021-040 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties as other homes have sheds similar in size as the applicant is requesting. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative as the applicant has exceeded their storage space in the home, which is the purpose of the shed. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions as the shed will be placed adjacent to the garage. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created as the need for the variance is for the applicant's needs for additional storage. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
I'll second.
That's seconded by Christian. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Variance passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Next, we have Kiara Williams at 4 Lillian Road. Hello. We have to put the protection on the microphone.
I see that. Thank you.
Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Kiera Williams at 4 Lillian Road.
Welcome.
Okay. Ms. Williams, could you just tell us a little bit about the project and what you're hoping to accomplish?
We're trying to put a shed in our backyard. It's basically the simplest version of that. It's not going to be right up against our house. It's going to be in our fenced-in area on our property.
Okay, great. And are you planning on having any electric or plumbing in the shed?
No.
No. Okay, that's all for me.
And again, the reason for this variance is because you have something else attached to your house.
Yeah, well, we just bought the house in the fall. It's kind of weird. I didn't even know. I'm just trying to, because the house was vacant and we're just trying to bring it back to life. If you ask any of the neighbors around us, it was kind of that house that's been hanging out there. So we're
Yeah.
trying to bring it back. So it looks like when I went to get something for the shed, that they call the other part that's attached to my garage, it's considered a shed.
Yep.
But the structure was already on there when we bought it, so we didn't know there was any issues. So that's why we just needed additional, because it's, I guess, was a carport like back in the 60s, but they closed it in before. So we just want a shed in the back to put our belongings and a ride-on mower instead of trying to break down stuff, just to keep the area clean and nice. If you drive by, it looks pretty.
Yes.
So it's
does
not
look-
something wonky or anything.
One thing that I will ask is that something that can be removed, or is it something that you plan on keeping there? That carport.
The carport
Yeah.
shed thing.
I'm doing that in air quotes.
Yeah,
based on
because
what
I
you
don't
said.
know what it's really, that was the first we've called it a shed. It would be a structural issue. I think it would cause more and do more damage to take down than it would. Like I said, if you drive by, it looks nice. It doesn't look like it's some ugly from the 60s, like they closed it in. It looks like, not messing with no one from the 60s, but they've redone it.
I'm good, but barely.
They did the whole part to the house, so it goes with it. It fits in. We just want something extra in the back. It's on our property in the fenced-in area, just to keep things nice and tidy. That's all.
Well, we're glad you're cleaning it up, and I'm sure everybody appreciates around you too, so thank you for that. Are there any other questions from board members? Okay, are there any questions from audience members here or virtually? Heather?
Nothing online.
With that, we can close this application.
All right, Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2021-041 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as multiple neighbors have sheds, and this variance will improve the aesthetics of the property. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as other options are not financially feasible and will not provide the applicant with the needed storage space. The variance requested is substantial, but the applicant has adequately justified the variance. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. In fact, the variance will improve the physical condition of the property. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created, and be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Beth Mossworth. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Have a nice day. All right, next we have 2021-042, Jim Wynn. Wynn.
Hi,
Hello, please state your name and address for the record. Welcome.
Jim Wynn, 67 Treetop Lane.
Thank you.
Mr. Nguyen, Tim Harrington, welcome here. So we spoke, I would summarize as saying that the rough estimates of the lot size suggested 180 square feet would work. Precise dimensions suggest that it's just 2 feet shy. So the request is simply for the extra 2 feet. The intent of your shed is what?
Is to store.
We lost you.
We see you, but we lost your audio.
Now we hear you.
There you go.
Okay. It is to store all my lawn equipment and also store all of my lawn furniture. Right now my garage is packed full of stuff, and I can't really move around my garage right now because it's full of stuff.
Understood. And so sort of a technicality, I saw the concrete pad that you had poured and looks really good.
Yes, thank you.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Nguyen, will there be any electric or plumbing in the shed?
There will not be.
Will this shed size suffice, do you believe, for the next couple of years, or is this something that you are going to be having to adjust again in a couple of years?
I don't believe I should, because the one I purchased would have an additional 4-foot loft, so it should be able to store all, if not everything, in my home right now.
Great.
How tall is the structure?
I believe it's 88 inches, 88 and a half inches tall.
Any other questions from board members? Any questions from members of the audience? Not here. Heather?
Nothing on my side.
Thank you. With that, we can close this application.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2021-042 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, 3, has considered the potential benefit to the application versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in a undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as this is a very slight increase of 2 square feet to the shed. Variance can be achieved by some other feasible alternative, but a 180 square foot shed is a reasonable request. The variance requested is not substantial. It's literally just a change of 2 feet. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The foundation is poured and is a well-built cement pad. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created, but a smaller shed would likely result in the need for greater space in the future. And be it further resolved that based on the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Redlow. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Enjoy.
Next, we are gonna hear 2021-043 by Thomas Nguyen. From my understanding, no relation.
No relation, I checked.
21 Shell Edge Drive.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Miglerini.
No relation, huh?
No, we heard that earlier from Tim. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Nguyen, would you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Thomas Nugent at 21 Shell Edge Drive.
Welcome.
Mr. Nugent, are you going to be placing the shed on a slab or crusher rock or anything like that?
Yes, just we're gonna put stones underneath it. I'm just gonna buy a shed. And then they're gonna just place it on these little cinder blocks. It's gonna be elevated off the grass.
Okay. Any electricity? You're going to run any electricity out there or anything?
Nope, no electricity.
Can you explain the purpose for the shed?
Yes, so I do remodeling and landscaping. So I have lawnmowers, snow plow, and a lot of tools, plus 6 kids, so bikes, toys. So my garage is like barely any room to walk, and it's so hard to find anything. So I just want a shed so I can organize some of the equipment in there, so the kids can put their bike in the garage and stuff. Benji, back up. Back up.
Okay, now, is the shed going to be single or double story?
Oh, it's just a single story shed.
No more.
Don't do that.
This could be one of the cutest conversations we've had in this meeting before, just to say that for the record. With that said, are there any other questions from members of the board?
Not a question, but a comment. Thomas, I want to apologize for the mispronunciation of your last name. The previous applicant was spelled exactly the same, but pronounced Wynn, so I apologize for that.
Oh, no worry.
Any questions from members of the audience or other members on the virtual audience? Nope. Heather?
Nothing here.
Perfect. With that, we can close this application.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to application 2021-043 for an area variance, I move to approve. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held public hearings, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefits to the application versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of facts. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the characteristic of the neighborhood. The variance cannot be achieved by other feasible alternatives, as the option does not meet the storage needs of the applicant. The variance requested is substantial, but the application has adequately justified the variance. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty related to the variance was self-created, and be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves as presented.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Chamberlain. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Now we will have application 2021-044, Chris Rusi, 88 Haywards Heath. Welcome.
Hello,
Please state your name and address.
Chris Ruisi, 88 Haywards Heath.
Thank you.
Hello. So I drove past your property to see what you were interested in doing, putting a fence up. And I also was measuring through, using Google Earth, actually. I measured, so you want to have it, you want the fence to be 30 feet from the center line of the road to where the fence is going to be. So that places it right beyond, basically there's the sidewalk, and then you want the fence to be right next to the sidewalk?
Well, actually, when I measured it, I was told it was, you could have it 30 feet from the center of the road. So it was 5 feet in from the sidewalk. So that's what I was requesting.
Okay, so basically the sidewalk, and then there's 5 feet.
5 feet, and then my fence would begin.
Okay, so I didn't, because I wasn't sure exactly how close to the sidewalk you wanted to put the fence.
Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna have it basically proposing it to go from just before the utility box that's in the corner of your property down to about the, what is it, the southwest corner of your house?
Well, halfway.
Halfway.
So halfway, like the length of my house, of the side of my house.
Right, to the basically the southwest corner, out then down the
Yes.
property on the, was it the west side of the property?
I think his comment is it's halfway on that wall.
Halfway beyond the wall, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay. And actually, in looking at it, are you aware of the easement that's on that side of the property?
I'm not. I don't really understand that
Okay.
part of it.
Okay, because I mean, that's nothing pertain to the variance, because basically you're just here to get the 6 feet, as opposed to what 3 feet is allowed, but just to let you know that there's an easement that goes from that, the utility box
Okay.
down that side of the property, for RG&E and for other, because all the power lines in that neighborhood are underground, they're not on poles. So, it's my understanding, are you saying that you'd also have to get permission from RG&E to be able to do, if you want to put it where you want it?
We don't hear it.
We'll have to talk to, it's actually RG&E, Frontier Telephone, and Time Warner. You'll have to get their permission to place a fence. If they approve it, or if they don't, if it's 3 foot, you still need their permission to go within their easement.
Okay.
Or else you'll have to pull back 10 feet from that boundary line.
10 feet from the sidewalk or from?
Well, it'd be from the right-of-way line. So essentially it'd be, the corner of your house is 26 feet from the boundary,
Okay.
the right-of-way. So you'd be able to go 16 feet from that corner. So you lose 10 feet from what you're looking to do right now.
Okay.
As presented.
So I'd like to add on to that, just to try to make this very clear. Whether we approve it tonight or not, there is still another step after our approval. So you will still have to get the permit approved, and the permit process will have a couple of pieces involved with it.
Okay.
And your house is slightly different because of the corner and because of the underground infrastructure that's there.
Okay.
So because of that, we can approve it. We can deny it. I mean, that's up to the board. We'll see what they say today. But if we approve it, you still have to get other approvals. So our approval does not finish this process.
I understand.
And so you have something that's a little more unique than some of the ones we've been looking at today and some of the ones that we will be looking at today,
Okay.
Because of that infrastructure that's underground. So a couple of things to pay attention to, and we're going to hear this based on what we're seeing right here, and we will make a judgment, whatever that is. But because of this underground infrastructure, you may want to say something like, I want to pull it back 10 feet closer to the house. And I understand your reason. And by the way, your new porch and stuff that you put in is absolutely beautiful. So
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank
Just
you.
for the record, he's maybe 10 doors down from me as a neighbor, so. But it is absolutely beautiful what he put in there. And I saw you doing it yourself for a lot of it, so
Thank you.
good for you.
Thank you.
But that is the problem that we have. So you're gonna have like 3 or 4 agencies that have to be involved in this if you try to pull through it like you have it drawn to us.
Okay.
So with that in mind, we can make a decision on this today, but you may ask us to say, hey, I want to adjust that because it will probably be a lot easier. And Kevin, I don't know how hard that is to get through all those agencies, but
I think RG&E is going to be the most difficult. 'Cause
Oh, it's off. Oh, it's off.
there it is.
Okay.
Nope, it's not a good.
No, definitely. Right side, not left side.
Not the left side.
Definitely electrical underground. If the gas line's there, probably would not approve it at all. Being out by the road, very difficult for it to be approved that way.
Yeah, I
So the
think so too.
utilities.
And so the other thing, Mr. Russi, that we pay attention to is this line of sight. So because you're at an intersection, the corner lot by nature, you're at the intersection, and all these things that happen on the corner lot because of that space gives us something to pay extra attention to. Hence the reason they asked for a 3-foot fence as standard. So we're going to be addressing that in a minute here, and I think there's a little bit of up in the air. We're not quite sure how this is going to go right now. We'll learn in a minute. But I do think bringing it closer to the house would make it a lot easier for all of us, as my assessment of what I've heard so far. And then the utility component, it might make it impossible to get what you're asking for.
Okay.
So because of that, it's a complexity that's probably beyond us. We're still going to take a vote on this.
I have further questions.
Oh, please. Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay. Now, you're requesting the 6-foot. What was the purpose of the fence itself?
Privacy and, the safety of my children. Honestly.
Okay. Could you do a 3-foot fence or 4-foot? and
Well, there'd
have that
really be no
variance?
privacy like that,
Okay.
on that corner. It's a busy street. There's a lot of cars, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people walking by, and there's no privacy.
Okay.
So, Mr. Ruisi, so in terms of the safety for your children, I understand what you're talking about with privacy. So safety, I'm assuming you just don't want them to run out into the street, right, is what you're trying to avoid?
Yes, definitely one of them.
So why couldn't that be done with even a 4-foot or 5-foot fence? Why the need for the 6-foot?
Well, I'm allowed 3 feet, right?
You're allowed 3.
3 feet, okay. So if I'm trying to go higher than 3, I'd rather just go to 6 feet and make sure nobody can just see in altogether. And
So
then
you're
also
really-
like kids, they get abducted like 3 feet, 4 feet fence, they can get grabbed easily. I just want to make sure my kids are safe.
Yes.
Right, yeah, I understand safety of your kids. I'm assuming you watch them when they're in the backyard.
Well, of course, but if I have to run into the house for like a
Yeah.
split second really quick, you know what I mean?
So really what you're after is privacy with the 6-foot height, not so much. The safety could be accomplished with the 3.
Well, I just told you the safety cannot be accomplished with 3 feet, according to me.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, I have no other questions.
Thank you. Any other questions from board members?
And just as a general question, I know that, when I was asking about, just let you know about the other hurdles that may be in place in order to get the fence where you want have it on the drawings. Moving it back, it actually would be better for the sight line as well, for cars exiting Haywards
Haywards,
Road
yeah.
onto Longton Place, sorry.
Yeah.
I know actually there is a line, on the line of sight, as it's drawn, it doesn't impede line of sight according to the map. But if it's gonna be 6 feet back a ways, do you think you're gonna pursue just having it back to save the trouble of trying to get in the utilities involved? Or do you think that,
I'm not sure, because also like that side of my property is the flattest part of my yard.
right,
The whole other part of my backyard is just all sloping down, and it's so uneven. The kids have a swing set, a huge water bounce house. Like I can't do anything. I wanted to move some of that stuff to the other side and also be safe for the kids. You know what I mean? So I think I'm going to try to get it to where I want to.
okay, well, that's fine. You can definitely, not saying you can't, I'm just saying that
Right.
having it back further, start being a 6-foot fence opposed to a 4 or 3 would be probably better as far as sightline issues. But that, just want to make sure you know that if you want to try for that area, that you may have additional.
Right,
issues.
with, I got you, I understand.
I wish you all the luck in the world to get it. So I don't say, but I just, but yeah, I just don't have any other questions at this point.
Is it going to be, oh, it's going to be a vinyl.
Vinyl.
Okay.
I just want to say for the record, I understand what the applicant is saying with regards to the privacy and the safety concerns. I have concerns about obstructing line of sight where it's currently drawn. I respectfully disagree with my colleagues. My assessment, I think it does. I think it will impede line of sight on the major roads, which is why I'm going to vote against.
It's really far from that corner where I'm putting my fence too. Like, it's far. Like I don't think it would affect anything.
Okay. Does anybody else on the board have more questions? Are there other questions from any members of the audience or virtual audience as well? Heather?
I have nothing online.
Okay, with that, and who's running this? Christian, you're up. With that, this application is closed.
Okay. All right. Mr. Chairman, with regards to application ZBA 2021-044 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit of the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variances will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to other nearby properties. Other properties in the neighborhood have similar fences of the same height. The variances, or variance that is, cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The applicant wants privacy on a busy road. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will allow maximum usage of the property. And the variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. The applicant wants an enclosed space for their children to play and enjoy. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
I'll second.
Seconded by Heather. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
The motion carries. So you're good with this piece of it. But Chris, remember, there are going to be at least 2 or 3 more hurdles that are beyond us. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Looks beautiful.
Thanks a lot.
And I'll see you later.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Christian. Next, we have 2021-045, Aaron Olek at 76 Fitzpatrick Trail. I assume this is on.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How are you today?
Very good. How about yourself?
Wonderful. Please, for the record, state your name and address.
My name is Aaron Olick, and I currently reside at 76 Fitzpatrick Trail.
Welcome.
Mr. Olick, thank you for joining us. So your application is for a shed that is currently 3.4 feet from the side setback versus 4 feet. Now, this shed was there when you purchased the home?
That is accurate.
Okay. Do you know what created the need for this variance? Are you selling? Did you get reassessed?
So in general, right now, we are in the selling process. Through fact finding, when I went to the town to proactively get all permits on file over to our attorneys, I discovered that we actually did not have one for the fence at the time, as well as our shed. Upon providing my instrument survey, the fence was approved with no issues, but obviously the 8-inch easement requirement put us in this current predicament.
Okay. And that shed, is it set, do you know, on a pad or on piers?
I'm unsure. I would assume it's on at least a pad, but I do know that the base structure is primarily wood. So I don't know if there's a concrete pad underneath that. It's just what's visible to me at this time.
Thank you.
And this was here before you bought the house?
It was here before I bought the house, and probably the biggest challenge, because for me, I'm trying to get everything in order for the new buyers just because they are first-time home buyers. And, you know, ultimately, I just want everything clean on the record. The challenge for us is we currently have a dog in the house, which is one of the main reasons we purchased it in the first place, having the nice fence in place. The challenge there is the old owners actually put the fence around it. So if we were to move the shed the 6 inches over, which is also obstructed by the gate, because they put the gate directly against the shed, you would actually have to go back in and have the fence contractors come back in. And then also in communication with the people that are in the procurement process of our house, they also have a 14-year-old pug and a 1-year-old pug. So they were very much looking forward to the fence as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's funny.
Is the fence running behind the shed or is it up?
No,
On the picture too.
it goes directly into the shed. So the shed is actually a portion of the fence.
Oh, wow.
Perfect. All right. Are there any questions from the board members? Are there any questions from members of the audience here or online? Oh, thank you.
Nothing here.
Thank you, Heather. With that, we can close this application.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to application ZBA 2021-045 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the zoning board of appeals make the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character or detriment of the nearby properties, as it has been in place from a prior owner for several years with no issues of placement. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The variance is not substantial as it is an 8-inch variance. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty related to the variance was not self-created as the shed has been on the property for prior owners. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Redlow. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
Enjoy your evenings, everyone.
as
You
well.
too, thank you.
All right, next we have 2021-045. I'm sorry, 046, Kevin Conley at 5 Winrich Circle. Welcome, Mr. Conley. Please
My
state
name
your
is
and
Kevin
address.
Conley. I'm at 5 Winrich Circle.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So
If I had known you've been driving by my house, I would have told you to stop and I would have showed you what you're looking for.
Yes, I should have. I did not. I was.
That's okay.
Pinched for time for each time I went by. Could you explain to us what your intent is for this fence? I do have an understanding, but.
Yes, as you guys heard earlier, we're looking to put up a fence, a privacy fence, because it is a highly traveled road, being West Henrietta Road, and of where it's located, we're trying to actually be able to use and maximize our backyard. As of right now, we really can't because of the high volume of traffic coming in around there, especially in the evening. Like if, for instance, if we want to entertain during our evening hours, we don't have that privacy to do that because, for instance, if it's a car that's coming in, every single headlight is blasting into our face. That's again why we're looking for a 6-foot high fence. We do know that there's an easement and all that in there. We moved it well back behind that. We did all of our research, RG&E, Frontier and all that stuff to make sure we were behind that marking. I do know there's a question of where the angle is that we're taking. It is far back enough to give that angle of a turn in to make sure that there is plenty of vision coming into our neighborhood. I know there was also a question on Martin Road. We see that fence too. They also sit up about a foot higher than we do.
That's true. When I look at your house from the Fitzpatrick Trail side,
Yes,
you have a series of trees that are roughly parallel to the street.
inside the fence. They'll be inside the fence.
All of them will be inside the
There's
fence.
only 3 trees.
Yeah.
And all
Correct.
3 will
All
be
3.
inside.
And the last tree, meaning the one closest to West Henrietta Road.
It's
is
well
that-
inside.
And is that sort of where it's going to turn? Basically just past
Just,
that?
yeah, just a little bit past that?
Yeah, like literally there might be
A couple feet.
like a few.
To
Yeah.
put the,
From where.
And that's where it's going to make that angle. So it's like almost at where our shed is.
Okay.
And it's going to cut across that way.
and then the back side of this, on the West Henrietta Road side, you have a,
Junk.
what's that?
Bunch of brush and junk.
Brush.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. And there's a tall section of this brush.
Correct.
Is it basically heading right at that?
Perfect.
And so that brush is already blocking the view.
That's exactly why we're not having the fence extend across West Henrietta Road. So because we do have
We
that
wouldn't let you
privacy.
extend it across West Henrietta Road.
Not across the road. Well, yeah. But you know what I mean, along parallel to it.
And is this fence going to be the whole surround of your property?
No.
Or just the side?
So
for-
we
just for
literally, it's
privacy?
just the entrance to our neighborhood. So we do have that privacy. We're not going across, along parallel West Henrietta Road. We're coming up to, it's like you said, the last tree is a cherry tree. It's almost right at our big end of our house. So that's where it'll go. So we're not continuing all the way down our property line.
So for me, the visual cue was the cherry tree and that taller.
Cherry
section.
tree is perfect. That's exactly where we have that fence.
And the second, the
It's-
backside was that tall section, which to me is blocking tremendously anyways.
That's exactly where that angle goes right over there, and there's a utility pole that sits right there. And
Yep.
so it's going to be on the other side of that one. Yeah.
Perfect. So I understand clearly. Are there any other questions from members of the board?
My only question is that the main purpose of the 6-foot
Mhm.
fence is for, so the headlights aren't coming in. Have you thought of any other types of vegetation to?
I did, but it takes too long to try to grow it all. And it's expensive compared to actually what we're putting in. Yeah,
Okay.
we did. Arborvitae would have been wonderful and looks beautiful. Just it takes a long time.
Right, that's true. Okay.
Any other questions? You good? Are there any questions from members of the audience? And Heather, that's for you too.
Nothing here.
Okay. Should we postpone this at all, or are we just?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, so with that, I'd like to close this application. With regards to application number 2021-046 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such a variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to the nearby properties. This will be a nice touch to the curb appeal and view from the main road. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. This request is the only viable way the applicant can get privacy. The variance requested is substantial. It is substantial and may have some line of sight issues, but we believe it's adequate. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. We do believe the line of sight will be okay with the drawing measured. Again, a little bit of change there. The difficulty relating to the variance was not self-created. It's a typical corner lot issue. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Redlow. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Enjoy
ladies.
your new fence.
Appreciate it.
All right. Now we have 2021-047, Anthony and Grace Carter at 125 Authors Avenue.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Thanks.
Please state your name and address.
Yep, it's Grace Carter at 125 Authors Avenue.
Thank you.
Ms. Carter, you're looking for a 6-foot fence because you have a corner lot where 3 foot is allowed. Can you explain the intent of the fence?
Yeah, so we're just looking for a straight line of fence really from, I call it the back corner of our lot. There's like a chain link fence back there. And it would just come up, it's about 100 feet of fence that we measured to kind of split like our backyard area from the neighbors that are like right there, their driveways there, their garages there. I know there was a question on how close to the road it is, and we measured it's about 40 feet from the edge of the road that it starts, so it's pretty far back.
Good.
Okay. And what type of fencing is it going to be?
It's just a wood, like your standard wood privacy fence.
Is it just gonna be along the back portion, or is it gonna enclose?
No, so it's not closing anything off. I don't want to do that. It's just so we can kind of enjoy our backyard and have a little more privacy back there.
No further questions.
Are there any other questions from board members? No? Any questions from members of the audience? Virtual, Heather?
Still nothing.
Great. Heather, with that, this is closed. This application is closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA-2021-047 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as other homes in the neighborhood, which are on a corner lot, has a privacy fence in their front yard. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The applicant is requesting the fence for privacy concerns as their backyard is very visible from the street and neighbors, or from the neighbors. The variance requested is not substantial. However, the benefits will outweigh the negatives. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created, as the applicant is requesting the variance for privacy concerns. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
A second.
Thank you very much.
Seconded by Mr. Chamberlain. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Enjoy.
Great. We have application 2021-048, Timothy Burrell, 12 Beaconsfield Road.
Yeah, I have him online. I'm not seeing any activity from him.
Oh,
Oh,
there he is.
there he is. Hi, Tim.
Please hold on.
There.
Oh, no.
My apologies, technical difficulties.
It happens. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Timothy and Jessica Burrell, we are at 12 Beaconsfield Road.
Okay, Mr. Burrell, nice to talk to you again. Could you just give the board a brief overview of what you're trying to accomplish with the deck?
Yeah, I want to do a 12 by 24 foot deck off the front of my house. You know, my wife likes to sit out here and watch the kids walk by, people walking by with their dogs, come out front with the dogs and hang out and just kind of have a good time.
Okay, and could you accomplish your goals with anything smaller than a 12 by 24?
I don't think so. We've already purchased some patio furniture to come out here and we like to entertain, so having enough space for people out front is always a good thing.
All right, no more questions from me. Thank you.
Any other questions from board members?
What is the material going to be used for the deck? Is it going to be lumber, pressure treated, some sort of like, what kind of material?
It's all pressure treated lumber. I've already got it ready, staged, on order from Matthew Fields. I just need the okay from you guys, and I can order it tomorrow.
Great. Any other questions? Nope. Any questions from members of the audience here or virtually? Heather?
Nada.
Nada. With that, we will close this application. Mr. Redlow?
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2021-048 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as multiple neighboring properties have front decks. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as no other alternatives provide adequate access in and out of the home. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
You guys made my wife very happy.
Seconded by Mr. Chamberlain. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
One opposed. It's Heather. And with that, your motion carries. So enjoy your deck.
Thank you. She's wanted this for 15 years.
Well, I'm glad we can be a part of this.
A long time to wait. Have a good night. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Bob, I'm sorry, I missed the very end with the votes. Who was opposed to it?
Me, Heather.
It was just you, Heather?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Last we have 2021-049 Edward G. O'Brien at 23 Summer Sky Drive. I figured this would be you. Could we ask you for your name and address again for the record?
It's Edward O'Brien, 23 Summer Sky Drive.
Welcome, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Brien, my name is Tim Harrington. I spoke to your wife. So the request is for an additional garage, an open air one, whereas one garage is allowed. Can you summarize for the board the need for this facility? I'm sorry?
It's really a patio cover. I mean, we were toying.
Can you-
with what we call it when we-
Could you please step up to the microphone if you're, and also state your name.
I just wanted to clarify about the garage clarification, because when we came for the application, people weren't sure.
Can you
If
speak
look
into
at
the mic?
Picture.
Can you speak into the mic, please? Thank
Sure,
you.
I'm sorry. If you look at the picture I sent at your request, Tim, it looks to me like a pavilion at Town Park or a pavilion I see in other people's backyards. So I just think when you hear the word garage, it's misrepresenting what our intent is.
Right.
And so
But I can let Ed speak to all that. I just wanted to clarify that because it was a little, we were seeking help in how to word it for the variance. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
To answer your question, there's a number of reasons for it. And one of them, if you drive by our house, we're the house with the 10-ton boulder in the front of it. And the reason for that is one morning we woke up and my wife's car was in our neighbor's yard. It was a hit and run. Ran right through our yard, right into the driveway, hit her car and threw it in Kenny Burgess's yard. And then we've been broken into our vehicles 3 times in our driveway. They break the windows, so one of them is for the safety of the boat itself, so it doesn't get vandalized. Another one is we're on a hill, and when you park the boat on the driveway, it's pointing down. So we have to block the wheels on the trailer. And anybody could just come in that driveway and kick those blocks out, and that boat would be right down in the road. The third reason is the boat is exposed to the sun, direct sun all day long. I've had 3 melanoma surgeries on my face and head. So that's another reason I can't work on the boat, because it's exposed to the sun. And we went around and asked all the neighbors ourselves. We tried to explain to them what we wanted it for. And I would say all of them understand what we need it for, and they approved it. And we slipped the boat one year too. And when we first got the boat 5 years ago, it was $1,300 to slip it for the summer. Right now it's $3,000.
Yeah.
So expense-wise is another one.
Understood. And for the record, I spoke to your neighbor, Ken Burgess, and he's in full support of this and understands and shared his perspective on that. Can I ask, how will this structure be attached to the ground? How will it be anchored?
It's through Carport Central. They're out of North Carolina. And they put up these structures, and we've asked them if they put up these structures in New York State, and they said they have. And it's an anchoring system, and they go by state. So they have to, by guaranteeing the structure, they have to guarantee the wind shear of the area.
Okay.
And it's 70 miles an hour for our area, but they're going to fully exceed that to be 90 to 100 miles per hour. And what it is, it's an auger. It's for every post that you see on the building, there'll be an auger stake that goes into the ground 3 foot, and it goes in like this. They do it with a machine, and then it's anchored to the side of the.
And it's on screen now.
Yeah, it should be a
Yeah.
picture now.
Okay, great, understood. And so my understanding is that there's existing crushed stone that this will sit on top of?
Yeah, we do have to have it regraded, because the structure has to be 3 inches flat in order for them to properly anchor it. So we do have a contractor, would be Tandoid, that would come in and resurface and get it flat for us, and then regrade it for aesthetics.
Okay, and so behind the existing shed, given that you're going to have that traffic now opening the door, getting into behind the shed and into this carport open air garage, will you need to extend the width of your driveway on the front side of the shed?
What it is when you go up the driveway, we have a wooden fence that goes around the backyard.
Right.
And this structure will be behind the wooden fence.
Right.
But it's a 10-foot width gate. So it's 2 5-foot sections that open up like this. My trailer is 8 foot, the widest span of the trailer. So the driveway, the existing driveway is a double car garage driveway. The only extension that would be is it'd be shaped like a triangle. They would extend just 5 feet to go to because when how can I explain this?
To the width of the open fence door.
Yeah, when a driveway is only to the opening of one of the gates. So if you open up the other gate, they would just put a little V section of asphalt in there, so we could open both gates, and then we would be able to park the boat right underneath that.
So Kevin, on the front side of the fence, adding width to the driveway, is there a need for a separate variance for that?
No, because they're coming in for a second garage, so you're permitted to have the driveway up to a garage.
So it all works out.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why we should call it a garage.
No, I know.
It's a garage.
But
so appreciative of working through this.
And we can't put it in the garage, our existing garage, because the homes that, we live in a small ranch, and the garage they built back then,
We're too small for this need.
my lawn tractor fills it up.
Okay, good. I think that sufficiently tells the story. Power to this structure or no? Okay, done.
You have been talking about I'm calling it the pad that
Correct.
this is going to be on. What is the material that will be made of?
It'll be crusher run for a base. It's going to be an 8-inch base, just like they would put in for a driveway. But over that crusher run, they have to, it's a mixture of stones. So when you do park on that, it doesn't sink in.
But it will not be asphalt.
No,
But it will be asphalt on the front side of the fence.
correct.
Okay.
I have no more questions.
Is that okay, Kevin?
Yeah, as it being an open air garage carport, they are permitted to have, he could actually asphalt that if he wanted to. But it's not a requirement to have pervious surface on that because it's open air.
Thank you. All right, any other questions from board members? Nope. Any questions from members of the audience? Heather?
Nada.
Nada. With that, this application is closed. Mr. Harrington?
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application 2021-049 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has, 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved, the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. 1, the variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, because this structure will be behind an existing fence and will cover an existing boat so that it need not be parked in the driveway. The variance cannot be achieved by any other feasible alternative for the purposes of protecting the boat from the elements and the owners from excess sun exposure during boat maintenance. Given an existing health concern, this is a cost-effective and logical solution. 3, the variance requested is not substantial as the structure will be behind an existing fence. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The backyard already has crushed stone to support the structure with minor adjustments to that. 5, the difficulty relating to the variance was self-created given the needs of boat ownership, but is a reasonable solution. And be it further resolved that based on the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Redlow. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Have a nice day.
Good evening. Good night.
Thank you. Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
You're welcome. Take care.
Have a nice day. He helps a lot of people out.
Hey, literally it's a rock? I didn't even see the rock.
And it's been hit twice. I come home one day, it was bumper and headlights out in.
And he, claims freight color, but it's a corner lot, so I sympathize with the others that we heard.
You know what it is? It's Ken, because he paints cars. He's directing.
Before we moved in, a car hit the house and came to the basement.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
And I have to close the meeting too. We can keep talking, but I have to close. So at 8:15 or 8:17, I close the zoning meeting for the day. Thank you.